We're feeling good. Having that little stretch of us not doing so well and then picking it back up, I have great hopes for us soon, this next tournament and also the NCAA. I think we just got to stay on track, honestly, and when we lock in, we'll be good.
We are really excited, and we were talking about it yesterday. How it's one and done season now, and that's what you work all season toward. And so, just the vibes in the gym yesterday were really great, and people are excited.
Bugs talked about it a little bit, but you guys had that stretch, win one, lose one, for a long time. What do you think turned it around? Was it just a matter of playing Jana more minutes?
No. I think what turns it around is we focused on our energy and our execution more than we ever have before. We weren't locking in on game plans as much as we needed to, and so our coaches were just really adamant on that. And we've done that, and our team is back, just like Nikki said, so, yeah.
For either of y'all, going into KC, obviously, there's a chance to win the conference tournament, but do you guys have that motivation to, hey, we're right on that hosting line, and if we have a good run there, we can play and make those first two rounds?
That's definitely the goal. We have been talking about it, but we just have to lock in these games before we can even get there. But definitely there's been talk about it, and we do want to host. But we gotta play, we gotta win. So.
Obviously, there's a game between Texas Tech and Houston before you play your game. How maybe important is it to not overlook, one opponent versus the other? Because like you said, it's tournament time and anybody can win.
Tournament time changes everything. Anybody can beat anybody at any time, and so you really cannot. Even if you've beat a team in the past, it doesn't matter. Like they can win. Everybody can win, and so it's just taking every opponent seriously and playing your hardest.
Janice, since you talked about locking in on game plans, how does the postseason challenge y'all's ability to do that when it comes to the not really knowing who you play and having less preparation time than you would during Big 12?
Yeah, it's less preparation time for sure, but our staff is really, really good at scouting reports and getting us prepared. So we're just going to have to lock in those short time frames more than we ever have before, because you usually have 3 days or a week or whatever it may be, and now you have like 24 hours. So.
Jen, I want to ask about Dre. What is, her journey, it's been kind of unique at Baylor, sitting out last year, but still bringing plenty of joy this year. What does Dre bring to this team in terms of, that joy and also on the court?
Dre, like you said, she brings joy to the team. She is happy. She's funny. She's going to lift us up. She's our biggest supporter. I think just like Bugs, they both are our biggest fans. Off the court and on the court, obviously. She's my best friend, so I love to laugh with her and spend time with her. But that energy carries, and also with Bugs, too. It's just great to have that, and it makes playing fun.
It's a new facility in Kansas City that y'all are playing at, but with a lot of transfers on the team that have never been to the Big 12 tournament, what can y'all kind of teach them going into this? How can you keep the team kind of focused on it doesn't matter, where we're playing and who we're playing, but just playing Baylor basketball?
I think my teammates do a good job of just locking in ourselves, and also our coaches. They've obviously prepared us, but I feel like we've proven like we can go anywhere and play. So I don't think, even though it is a new facility, it doesn't really matter. It's just as long as we play our style of basketball, we'll be good. And I know some people haven't played because of transferring in the Big 12, but they've been on big stages before. So I don't think it's new to them. Obviously, it's new because they're in the Big 12, but it's not new to them. So they know what's up, and they'll go out there. We'll go out there and just play hard.
Given the fact you started the year 14-0, but you end the regular season 5 straight wins, do you think you're playing, or why do you think you might be playing your best basketball right now?
I think because we're having fun and we are loving the game and loving the challenges. our coaches are just so motivating, and like I think that they know how to motivate us, which is really hard as a coach because you have 13 different players, and but I think that we just found the joy again.
I would say, yeah, we found our joy for sure. When we play and have fun, we just do so much better. And also our coach, they do a good job of preparing us because, like Jenna said, like we get 24 hours to execute a plan, and they do a really good job of focusing in on those little things that we need to do. And, yeah, I'm excited.
Bugs, it's obviously a little harder to make all Big 12 now, with more teams coming in. Y'all motivated at all or satisfied with what y'all got in terms of Sarah being the only first or second teamer and then 3 honorable mentions?
I mean, with those added teams, there comes a lot of new faces and new talents. But, I mean, we're always grateful for what we have. We know how much of an impact we make on the game. So I wouldn't say it's just, we could do better. Like, we can always do better. But, I mean, we're just grateful for what we have, people recognizing us, and we know what kind of work we put in. So to us, it doesn't go unnoticed. And I don't think we're super big on, hey, I have to have that accolade, even though they are very good. But we put in the work, so we know all the work we've put in, so we're not really tripping.
You talked about Dre being your bestie. Looks like you got a little emotional as she went through the line. Was that an emotional day?
Yeah, I cried like 4 times. It's so hard to like think about, next year Dre's not going to be here, Kat's not going to be here, Asia's not going to be here, and that makes me really sad because we've had a million memories, and you go through the ups and downs with these people, and so it's like just hurts the soul. But it's also exciting for them because like I want them to be successful, and I know that they all will be. So.
Yeah, is it easier or hard to foster those types of relationships in this transfer portal era, where maybe 6, 7 years ago you would have had 4 years with a player?
Yeah.
Now you don't know if you're gonna have 1, 2, transfer out, transfer in, all that stuff.
Yeah, I would say that's different. You have less time to build a bond, but if you get along with somebody and you are best friends with them and you trust them, and a relationship is a relationship. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. Y'all have really thrived these last few games. How have y'all prepared for the tournament?
Was that it?
Wow, I thought it was going to be like not a real question. Whose question did she just take? Whose question did she just take? Well, Sarah, we've had 1 practice. So I think it's right now not having an opponent. We've been focused on what are the offensive and defensive things that we need to accomplish regardless of opponent. Like now that we're kind of in a one and done scenario, we're talking about the fact that at this time of year, we're only guaranteed 2 games now, 2 more games. So it's kind of up to us to focus in a way where we make that more than 2.
How do you approach that when it's, you don't know who you're playing?
Yeah. Well, we obviously know who we could be playing, and so you try to look at those 2 opponents. You look back at those games. What did we do well? What did we not do well? What are commonalities between the 2? Both press a little bit. Texas Tech didn't press us much, but they've shown a lot of press over the course of the season, I think. They were just pretty beat down. They've got some of their kids that were in concussion protocol when we played the last time just got back for their last game. So that's what you really try to do. But you also, like, what can we tweak? What can we add? What can we clean up? That regardless of opponent, we're going to have to be good. Houston has shown some zone recently. Texas Tech played us probably 80% zone the first time we played them. So, focusing on tweaking our zone offense, understanding it better, that type of thing.
Coach, do you acknowledge with the team the obvious motivation of, hey, if we win a couple games in Kansas City, that could set us up to
Yeah, we're not afraid to talk about that. Obviously, it's been a goal since the season started. We certainly weren't in the last top 16 reveal, but I also think, a lot of things can happen in these tournaments, and I think our numbers trend towards being in position to put ourselves there. But you can't get ahead of yourself. I mean, you got to win the first one, and you need to play well. But I think if we're trending in the right direction with how we're playing, I mean, really gone are the days of them like taking hard looks at your last 10 games. The committee's not necessarily differentiating first 10 from last 10 like they used to, unless there's an obvious reason for a trend, an injury type situation. So I don't think our Utah win has less value than a win in February. In fact, I look back at that Utah game, and, we were really the only team to beat them at full strength, before Neepkins went down with a season-ending injury. So, but I don't know that they're even going to look at that. I think Utah has had a really good year, and their net has continued to stay in the top 10 all season. But certainly, when you have 18 points per game go down, you're not the same team. And that's the situation we were in a year ago when we lost Asia. So, I think we want to play good basketball. I think we want to finish the season strong. Obviously, whether you host or your seed matters in the tournament, your opponent matters, but your seed matters in terms of advancing. So, I think Charlie Cream had us going to Spokane. It's a long way. We definitely like to stay closer, but I think you just play the one game in front of you.
What do you think has sparked this late season surge? I mean, you made some adjustments and got some players back, but what has been the biggest factor in kind of this late push?
I don't think that because we don't talk about it a lot, but I think our changes have been pretty drastic rather than subtle. And I say that from the perspective of, if you look, we changed the starting lineup, but, I was playing Asia at the 3 all for 20 games. Asia's playing the 5 now. She's playing in on offense. She's playing in on defense. She's always defended at times 5s, depending on the lineup. But you just don't see her out on the wing. Like, we're trying to keep her between the lane lines. We're trying to keep her closer to the basket where she's rebounding, where she's, and so, we've really, really simplified. So I think it's more than, the lineup change. I think it's there were times when it was, what is best for each player in terms of their opportunity for growth in their future, and there's also what's best for our team right now. And I believe in the development piece. I believe in preparing them for the next level. I also believe in, hey, we've hit the point where we've got to put people in the best position for them to succeed so we can succeed. And I think, you've seen an uptick in Asia's production because she is closer to the rim. And she's kind of thriving there. So, I think she can play on the perimeter. There's no question I think she can, but I think she's still more comfortable playing between the lane lines. It's where we played her last year before she got hurt. But I felt like with the roster we had, that her growth opportunity was to kind of be that small forward spot. And so do I think she plays like a traditional 5? No, but we don't really play a traditional system anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And the only thing that differentiates her from Bugs is that Bugs takes the ball out of bounds. So I think that's been a big change for us. I think when you look at us analytically, we just really dialed in on what makes us good. What's the difference between our wins and losses? And there's 2 key things for us. It's points in the paint, how many we give up, how many we score. In our losses, we give up 10 points more per game in the paint, so it comes down to what are we doing a good job taking away driving lanes, and are we doing a good job in our post defense? So post defense has been a huge focus for us. And the other is we're plus 12 in rebounding and wins. We're almost minus 8 in losses. So sometimes wins versus losses, it's like, oh, you turn it over one time more. Like there's not these significant factors where it's like, okay, for us it's paint points and rebounding. And so, those have been, as you simplify, as you figure out, like, what do you have to do to be successful? I think it's this uptick has been about our defense. It's been, we're number one in the Big 12 and 3-point field goal percentage defense. We don't give them up. But we got to continue to control the paint as well.
Go ahead. That fourth quarter aside, you were talking about post defense. That fourth quarter aside, this last game, y'all have done really well in post defense. What's been the difference there?
Yeah, I think it's a really focused. We talk about levels. That post defense isn't just the person guarding that person. It's wing denial. It's not letting people catch it where they want to make it easy, to make that pass short. So we start with that. Then we talk about ball pressure. Are we doing a good job if they do catch it, when they catch it? Do we have great ball pressure? That third level is obviously the post defense themselves. I mean, we have gone back to, we're going to work 4 days a week on, like, literally just hitting people coming across the lane, hitting them early, not letting them get to their spots, being physical. There's so much difference, whether it's Crooks or Gusters or Jackson or you name them in our league. We've got a league full of centers that score on the low block of, are they 3 feet from the basket or are they 6, and then our fourth level is our help, whether it's we're on top and we've got backside help, whether we're looking to double or dig. But I thought, you're right, until the fourth, we had a comfortable lead and we didn't have that same intensity, which is disappointing. But certainly it was a big part of why. I thought we were flying around early in terms of doubling, digging, recovering, understanding who the shooters were, who were going to leave, who were going to stay. So it's all those things. And those are things that we didn't do, and kind of in that losing stretch, whether it was Jackson, Crooks, Gustin, you name it. Like, we didn't do a good enough job at any of those levels, of taking the pain away.
Coach, how does your conversation go? Because you talked about changing the lineup with your leading scorer, asking her to come off the bench.
Yeah, sometimes it's not asking, I mean, it's, I don't think that I run a dictatorship, but ultimately it's that moment was about, I think I've said it multiple times, but, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. Like, I when we were talking about it, I mean, I don't do anything lightly. I don't change lineups to be changing lineups. I don't like to throw darts and hope something sticks, so that was like a very thoughtful approach to, what do the analytics say? Like, when are we at our best? And the reality is, like, and I know, super proud of Sarah and Dre and Asia, and Bugs in terms of their all-conference honors. And I think, we're probably a little disrespected in those areas because our numbers are so balanced. But you can't put a lineup on the floor for us that isn't better when Bella Fauntleroy is out there with them. So it doesn't matter what the lineup is. Like, there are very few lineups that aren't better because of Bella's versatility, and she stretches the defense, even if she's not scoring. I mean, she had 0 points against Oklahoma State, but people respect her from the arc. So she keeps the floor spread for drivers, for rollers, for you name it. And she's our most versatile defender. She defends point guards. She's defended Emily Ryan. We were hurting when we lost her because she was the one matchup we had for Samaya Nichols. She can guard 1, she can guard 4, she can switch with 5. She's physical enough. She takes charges. I think she's up to 27 charges this season. And she doesn't need the ball in her hands to be effective. She doesn't need to take 20 shots. She doesn't, one game it's 10, the next game it's 5. And so she makes us a better team. And, without needing a lot of touches. And so, we just dialed into, like, we're at our best when we have a defensive presence to start the game. Like when we're not relying on do we make shots the first 3 minutes. And so that was the reasoning. It was, this is our best analytical defensive lineup, and it's really worked for us. We've had some offensive struggles to start games because right now when you think about some of our better offensive players, they're not starting. Jana's playing great, but coming off the bench. Yaya's been an offensive spark all season, and Dre. But we're setting a tone in how we defend and what we do early, and kind of letting the game come to us offensively.
Was that a tough conversation with Dre? Just kind of.
We had told him ahead of time that we were going to change the lineup. We didn't know what it was going to look like. But, like, I think there's been lots of times, I mean, if you look at Dre's career, she's not one of those players that started 120 games. I think she came off the bench a lot at Kentucky when she was there. And do I think she likes it? No. I don't think there's any player that truly wants to come off the bench. They're going to say the right things and all of that, but it's about winning, and it doesn't mean, there have been games where, she's played less as a result of starting, and there's games that she's played just as much or more. You take Kansas, where she was, obviously uber impactful. So it's not like she's not going to be out there a lot, and it kind of depends on how that first unit is playing. I mean, against Oklahoma State, I think I played 10 people in the first quarter, like searching for someone who could make a shot. So, I think that, it's ultimately about what's best for the team, because when you're down to your last few games as a senior, all you want to do is win, and so I think she's in a good place. I think she's someone that can give us a great spark, coming off the bench, can come in, can make shots, can get a rim run. She's one of our better rim runners, and so I just think we have a lot more firepower now off the bench with Madison being back, with Jana playing as well as she has, and so, I think it sets us up to be successful in a tournament that now we have to win 4 games in 5 days. Kind of forgot about the fact that we have a day off halfway through.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't want to keep harping on Dre, but looking at her career kind of overall, right? Like, what does it say about her that, she can sit out a year and come off the bench and start, and she's still consistently, at least from our perspective, positive and stuff? What does it say about her and kind of who she is as a human being and a player?
Yeah, I think she's always been an energy player. I mean, when you look at, she's been undersized. I mean, we're probably the first staff that's really played her a lot on the perimeter. I think that at times, like, it's been one of my challenges to her more recently is to, part of our success has come because she's like a more willing roller to the rim. She wanted to pick and pop, and she certainly is capable of making threes. But she's still, we need that 2-on-1 pressure at the rim. Like, we may not have a Misi, but the way that we can put pressure on the rim is the same way. We just can't throw it up for a dunk. And so, I think that's the thing that I'm most grateful for through this stretch is she's been coachable. I think when you're an undersized player, you tend to want to float on the perimeter. But she's actually really crafty. We've talked about going back to last year and who is Dre and what does her game look like. And I said she's like that old man at the park, that it's not always pretty, but it's really, really effective. And, she's just a better low post scorer than at times she's shown because she's wanted to float on the perimeter a little too much. And I think she's doing a better job now of really and whether her attention was peaked when she goes out of the starting lineup, and it's like, hey, this is what we're doing. You want to stay in the game, you need a roll. But I think, being a willing screener, and it's not like her numbers have gone down. It's not that her shot attempts have gone down, and her efficiency has gone up because she is getting more shots around the rim. And getting more offensive rebounds as a result of rolling, because she's not a player that's going to offensive rebound from the arc. Like, she's just not one of those slashing offensive rebounding types, but she's a leverage-driven offensive rebounder. So if she's near the rim, she's got a chance to go get it. And so, I just think she's someone that understands the game. Sometimes not as much as she probably thinks she knows it, that's that challenge of really listening and understanding that what we're trying to tell her is really, really going to help her. But I think when you start to get down to, I only have days left, weeks left, you really do. There's some nostalgia. There's some what do I have to do to finish the way that I really, really want to finish? And I think she's just gotten to a really good place to me where she's really starting to see that. I've just seen her be way more committed defensively. In terms of being physical, she's always been capable, but it's you have to have that mentality. You can't say you're a dog; you got to be a dog. And I just think our team has shown that a little bit more. There's a little less talk, as they say, a little less talk and a lot more action. I think they're doing that. They're not just thinking that they're tough; they're actually being tough, and that's a sign of a good defensive team. You have to be tough. You have to be willing to rebound. You have to be willing to take a charge.
There is a one-and-done mentality to this time of year. Does that lead to anything coaching-wise different that you do in postseason that maybe you don't do during the regular season?
I think the cool thing right now, as a coach, you'd like to believe you always have their attention, but the season is long. And, our season started in July because of the international trip. And so I think their ears are way more open right now. Their focus is better. I mean, you have a chance to really talk about time and score. We did a lot of situational stuff yesterday. I gave Tony a hard time because, I drew up some plays for one team and the other team was running circles out there. And I said, you might not want to have that group of 5 out there if we need to stop with one possession, because I think everyone was open, as we were running crossing action and trying to screw them up, knowing they were going to switch, with 3 seconds to go. So it's kind of there's a little bit more of a playful spirit because that it could come down to one possession and it comes down to one stop, one score mentality. So it's even fun for us to, in some ways, compete against each other with a clipboard. And what does Tony say? Run that again. Even if we miss it, it's he wants them to see where they made the mistakes. Because if you make it too simple, end of game when teams are switching, it's you got to get them. You got to screw their switches up. Whether you're ghosting a screen or just running multiple crossing actions that takes a high level of communication. But we've just really tried to dial into, don't take it. You can't take a day off right now. The days are short, and but we're also going short. We're not trying to go 3 hours, but we're trying to compete. And the nature of it being spring break for us is good and bad. We don't have our guys, so they got to play against each other. But you get a little more conditioning in a shorter period of time. So you want to stay sharp too. It's the one advantage, disadvantage of the old Big 12 schedule where we were still playing one more week and then the conference tournament was later. The advantage is you get to go back in between that tournament, 2 tournaments, you really get to kind of refocus and tweak some things that you didn't get to do. Like you went the way the Big 12 has been, you literally went from your last Big 12 game to scouting your first NCAA tournament opponent. Now we'll have that like downtime to like hopefully get a little rest, but also like kind of turn it up.